Rahubat, to everyone out there on YouTube, on social media, as well as on the Zoom call. My name is Djah'utwy Harar Safun. I want to welcome you all to the Friday Q&A class with myself, Djah'utwy Harar Safun, student teacher of the master teachers, as well as Amun Nebu and the brother Amun at Rayay. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and open up the class in due form, and it begins as such. Bi paranen impa yabab asar. Wu pa batal matat aishtat. Wu pa tawuba sanan harar. Amun. By way of the name of the father Osiris, and the virgin mother Isis, and the blessed son Horus. Amun. Parahen shalel musbatu. The pledge of the Sabians. Nakuku rahun tayuhan laye Wu-S'aBat. Shalel pa Tahuda musbatu shabat. Wahu yasar tahit sa'ah Wu-S'aBat. Karer sahu rakuk. Sahu hakum. Sahu fahum. Lahe kalel sahu fahum. Karer jamud sahu nakush. I pledge allegiance to Wu-S'aBat of the United Sabian tribe, one family under Orion and Sirius, with correct, right knowledge, knowing, right wisdom, right understanding, for all right overstanding, with sound, solid, right reasoning. Patak Yud. Anuki Jawef pa ashuk impa pa ut wu kale ashuk kabun Jawef naya. Anuki kasamun impa pa ut wu pa ut kabun kasamun im naya. Anuki wahu eme pa ut wu pa ut kabun wahu eme naya. Nakukadur naju eme kasamun impa ut wu khabub eme mushkasum. Nakukadur kawan kale pafef nakuk dayur Jawef pa ut. Eme wase eme de yarni kawun lakeye bakui Jawef pa ut. Anuki yabed bi nafashni. Pa ut kawun anuki. Pa ut kadur nakuk kadur. Pa ut amul nakuk amul. This is our affirmation, which states that I am in the divine love of the all expanding, and all divine love is in me. I am a part of the all expanding, and the all expanding is a part of me. I am one as the all expanding, and the all expanding is one as me. I can succeed as a part of the all expanding and fail as an individual person. I can be all that I want in the all expanding, as long as my want is to stay in the all expanding. I am never by myself. The all expanding is, I am. The all expanding can, I can. The all expanding does, I do. So, with that, I'm going to open back up the class. Again, I want to welcome everyone. Rahubat Muisar. Go ahead. Y'all can go ahead and say Rahubat. I unmuted everybody.
Rahubat.
Okay. I want to say, he said we got Rahubat Brother Grant, Rahubat Amun, Rahubat Amun Nebu. Rahubat Imach Ashu Sakin, Rahubat Sakham Besra, Rahubat Pamus Batu Anun Rayay. He's on the line today. All right. So, at this time, Amun Nebu, are you ready for your question? Oh, before we go to you, brother Ty, Anun Rayay, you have any announcements as far as the language?
Hey, baby. You want to know how much I know she heard me?
Okay, brother Ty Moon. I don't think he's on. Okay, he's there, all back over here. Okay. All right. Jamal Amun Nebu, how are you this evening?
All is well, brother. All is well. And how are you? Can you hear me?
Everything's good. Everything's good. Oh, Rahubat Taref Haru Kurf. Rahubat Jamal. All right. Without any, well, before we start the class, I got some I did want to read real quick before we jump into Q&A, and this is coming from the Nine, and this is called Pabmudwawu, or the Evil Ones, and it says, 1, oh my beloved children of Wu-S'aBat, you all Sabians, don't be deceived by way of evil ones. 2, know that evil is inside all races and people of every color and hue. 3, be careful, my race of the black devils, who are the worst pretenders, fakers, and deceivers. 4, because they resemble you all, they can be related to you all. 5, black devils live as servants of the white and red devils and believe by way of and their way of life and living mental and physical slaves. Hold on, let me read that again. 5, it says, black devils live as servants of the white and red devils and believe by way of them and their way of life and the living mental and physical slaves. All right. 6, they will pretend to believe as you all don't trust. They will pretend to believe as you all don't trust them. They are liars. They only follow the children of their father, the evil one, as their own Yeshua, Jesus, Isa said inside the book of John, chapter 8, verse 44. Quote, and Yeshua, Jesus, Isa was speaking about his own race of people from the beginning, speaking from their own first man, or Adam. Number 8, called the Son of God inside the book of Luke, Luke 23 and 38. So who else is their Elohim? Their own evil ones, the devil, their father. Number 9, all who follow them are of them. So, and I read that because I know if anyone remembers the old books, the older scrolls, the master teacher used to always put in the beginning of those, and the introductions, he would talk about the hindrance of uniting us. And he would say, never did he know that the evil ones had done such a great job in getting us to hate self and kind. But also with that, he would talk about the black devils born amongst us, raised among us, we married to them. They become our children. Some of them are our parents. Sometimes they are us. And we have to be aware of who we are dealing with at all times, especially in these last days and times. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there to kind of put that on people's minds. I know with everything going on with this whole this exercise that has been going on in preparation for the real deal of the virus to really hit. There's been a lot of things being said and a lot of things that have been, a lot of information has been put out that has not been accurate. And at this time, we should be coming together. But at the same time, we got to realize that it's more to it than just us coming together as Nagadanadu or as Negroids or as the black race or as Afro-Caribbean or as Africans. Is more than that, because we got to remember that the devil seed or the disagreeables, they also look like us too. They also have the same hue as us. They also are part of our genetics as well. So, you know, we have to make sure that we test everybody to make sure to see if they're walking and working by way of love and unity and of the faith in the facts, not blind faith, but the faith in the facts. Because if you have the facts, you know, I mean, you can rest assured that your faith is solid in the fact, because you know what it is. So with that, just wanted to throw that out there for everyone to kind of just break the ice and open the class up. So, Brother Amun, Nebu, I will turn it over to you at this time.
All right. So what's that? We can go ahead with the first question from the room. First question from the room. When you
If you have a question, you can. If they have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Well, I guess I'll start. This is Grant Singleton Eel. Peace, everybody. So I'm building with Brother Amun as far as My name, he was last time we spoke, we were talking about how names of our ancestors were given to us based off of your tone or your frequency. And I was just reading a book today. It's called 103 Facts, or 103 Amazing Facts about Black Indians, I think is what it's called, or something like that. And it was kind of connecting dots for me because they were saying something similar, basically along the lines of how also the Native Americans or the people indigenous to America also base their names off of tones or frequencies and your spirit. So I guess I didn't quite have a question, but I was hoping that maybe one of you or some of you could share with me, when you got your name, how it resonated with you, if you knew instantly it fit you, or maybe just share with me your process, or I just want to learn a little more about that area.
Okay. Well, if you look in the, it's called the Egyptian Names, or the Tamarayan Renanat, the name book. This is a scroll a master teacher put out. I'll just read from this real quick. It says, these English names hold no meaning. The Ren or Renan name can be arrived at, or through the use of oracles or meditation, or through spiritual instructorship. When names are given by these means, it is charged with the spiritual prospector. It carried a special energy, sakam, energy, power, which is imbued into it by the instructor through the teaching of the master. The Christians put emphasis on their names because in their King James Version of the Bible, in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 9, it states, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. The Greek word being used in this quote is on-om-ah, which means name. By this quote alone, names are important to all people. It doesn't matter about their religious backgrounds, because all religions have a naming ceremony, which originated in Egypt, where they give their sons, daughters, mothers, or fathers names that they hope they can live up to. For instance, names like Paul and Ahmed, which people are constantly being named. According to the Bible's Acts chapter 13, verse 23, John chapter 4, verse 42, Luke chapter 2, verse 11, just to name a few. There, Yeshua, or Jesus, whose original Egyptian triad of names was Haru, Heru, Horus, the Supreme Being, the Son of God, was called the Savior many times. However, the fact is, Jesus never saved the people of the house of Israel. Let's go over real quick. This is why the Tamarayan names, or Egyptian names, were known as having a sacred password that gives certain rights as you know it. The Egyptians therefore consider it necessary to have two names. The Egyptians had what you call the big name and the little name, or the true name, and the good name. They kept their big true name secret because it was their Ren name, and their good little name was their nickname and was a part of their living being. Okay. So I just want to get that real quick. This is coming from the Tamarayan name book. As far as the names,
go
ahead.
Oh, and I just want to say, up on the screen right now, I have page 10 and 11 from the Egyptian, the Tamarayan Renet book, which talks about the meaning of a name as well. I had just put that up there real quick for them to be able to kind of glance through the particulars of it as well. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Talk. So if you read on the top of page 10, everything comes into existence, receives a name. The pictures that you see, that would be the Kortush, or the Shanan. And that was put around that sacred title to protect the name, that sacred rope of protection. to protect against evil or disagreeable forces. So a cartouche is nothing but an elongated shin, as you see up at the top, the picture over to the left. That was put around it. All this was done in the ancient Egyptian order that we have, that was started by our master teacher and the elders. So this name is just the whole, you receiving your title, it describes your tone, like you said earlier, you know. So it's definitely, you initiate yourself and so on and so forth, you know.
And when would you, do you still use two names today?
Oh, most definitely. Like, so for example, let's say at work, you know, as they say, your legal name or your surname, that will be what you use, let's say, you know, when I'm teaching in their school system, you know, on their driver's license. And then that'll be the little name that's being used, as they say, throughout society. And then your bigger sacred name will be used, like, let's say, for example, when we're handling our business, our tribal business, or around our tribal members.
So, one is for when you operate, almost like one is when you operate in the straw man and trying to operate in the public, and one is for private.
Yes, because one thing the master teacher explained was, we still live by their laws because we're on that land, even though we know that this is our land, of course, but, you know, we still obey by the law, still pay your taxes, everything, because we're already claimed, we're already indigenous, Aborigine natives, a government of retained sovereign, you know, we have all that he can plan, you know what I mean? So because we have our own nation, our own tribe, and our own clan, even. Because our own clan will be the Clay clan, which would be, as you know, the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida area. That'll be the Clay clan. So we have all that established, that was set up by Master Teacher, you know.
Interesting.
So
Renanet, is that the big name?
Yeah, Ranan. Well, that's how you say that in our language, Sabbatic language. That's how you would say your name or title. You would say Ranan.
And then you follow that with your name?
Well, no, this is in English, I would say, you know, my name is, so in Sabbatic language, the word name is Ranan. You see what I mean? So now, as far as like addressing yourself, let's say you as, you know, if you like if you say Mr. or Mrs., you know, that's Nasut, Mr. Or if you were a master, that's Nabab. And then you would state your name, your title. You know what I mean? So I would be Nasut Amun Nebu.
Got you.
And then let's say,
on that page 10 in the Egyptian book of names that you just showed, it said that the little name is the Ren, R-E-N.
Yes, yeah. So now, as we go through the years, our master has shown the different scripts of what it became, what the language became as it traveled throughout the years. So we're going back. We're taking a backwards journey now through time, through all the different scripts. So you may see it as Ren, like R-E-N, and then now we spell Ranan, R-A-N-A-N. So you're seeing different scripts of this language that you see that you're going through. So in the ceremony, the actual ceremony, your name would be written down on a, you know, wherever that master chooses, or how that master chooses, and that cartouche will be put around it as a protection seal, and they'll be prayed over, meditated over, or whatever, what have you. And then that was all the things that were done prior to you receiving it. You knowing your actual name, your title, I should say. I'm sorry.
So the process that you go through, I forget the word you use, the ritual that you go through to get the name, is that, will that get you both names? Will you be able to find both names, or is that focused on your private name? Or
Yes, that's the name, your Sabaean name that you'll be given. Because right now, let's say right now, you get a lot of people do pick a name that they use like just during daily life. They pick it from the scroll, the Egyptian name book, and then they'll use their actual, of course, big name for when they're handling business. Like say today, right now, when we're around other tribal members, we use our Sabaean name or Egyptian name.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So
And
that's why I
so
was
people,
telling you over the phone when we were talking. For right now, due to the fact that the ancient Egyptian order right now is, I would have to call to see. We will have to find out to see when they're doing that again. To, starting that back up. So right now, they said you can pick a name or a title. I'm sorry, from the Egyptian name book that fits you to the T, and that will be what you will daily research. Be researching from here on, researching and find out all the different meanings behind your title. Like when you see, Djah'utwy, Harar, Safun, each one of us had to look up, each one of our names, Amun, Nebu. We had to look up. Will be wise to look up each word within that title. And it's an ongoing journey. You're going to find things every day, every week, every month. New things. Oh, that's why, and how it fits your personality. And it's a lifelong journey to live up to that title,
Cool.
Yeah. Can I interject real quick?
Yeah,
I just want to piggyback on that. Throughout the schools, like Brother Amun Nebu was explaining, at the time when we received our names or were given our tones, we were in certain schools at that time. But as we have continued to walk through the years, we've seen our names take on metamorphosis. Like you can start to understand your name within the various cultures and in the various time periods of existence. So certain attributes are things that have come about through certain schools of thought that are attributed to those tones. And like the brother Amun Nebu was just saying, as you keep going, every day you start learning something else about your name. And the thing is, your name, it actually explains a lot about who you are. So even when it comes like right now, as they are preparing to get things back in order so that to start reassigning names, if you choose to take a name, the master teacher would always say, don't pick a name because you think it sounds cool. You know what I'm saying? Because you can do yourself damage by not knowing or living up to whatever that tone is affiliated with. You know what I'm saying? So you wouldn't pick a name, like you wouldn't put Ra in your name if you're not going to live up to be what a Ra is. So you have to do the research to find out who Ra is, when did Ra exist, what did Ra do, or Rayay, or whatever tone, or Roy, or Ri, whichever, you know what I'm saying? You have to look into that to see, and then ask yourself, do I have those same qualities? Am I worthy to take on that title? Because a name is a title. And that's the thing about it. Like, I think today we have gotten away from a lot of that, where we don't look at our names as being titles. That's why people just name their children anything. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't make any sense at all. Our names, if you go back, all of our names used to have a meaning attached to it. But, you look back over the last couple of years until people started getting conscious. Even then, we still just had certain names or whatever that was given to us by the owners of, of our kindred or whatever. But at the same time, now with us coming back around to having awareness, the tones and the things that we take on, they should have a deeper meaning because they connect with the internal or with the etheric you.
Djah'utwy, there's somebody that shouldn't be on the call.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, I heard that.
Yo, what is this religion, bruv? Is this Satanism? God is one, God is one, God is one.
Oh, it's somebody.
Big black cat.
Yeah, Robert, Djah'utwy.
Yeah, I got him kicked out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They put up some crazy stuff. But anyway, but that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing with what you when you're talking about your name and your tones, you want to be careful with it. You know what I'm saying? Because your tones not just affect you now, but they also link to everyone that has had their tone going back. You dig what I'm saying? So just like how the message said that when we go to contact our ancestors, the thing is when we go to contact our ancestors, you have to make sure that you are specific about your ancestors that you're calling on, because if you, let's say you had an uncle named John, and you're trying to reconnect with your Uncle John, every person that has that name, that have had that name John, is gonna show up when you call John. You follow that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's a lot more. There's a lot that goes with having a name or having a title, and that's what we need to start kind of looking at names, because names are merely titles. You know what I'm saying? So that's the important thing. Go ahead. I just want to chime in and throw that in now.
Oh, that's good. Also, as the brother was explaining, when your name is called, or when a tone is called, it actually opens up a vortex, and it allows, like he said, all those beings, whether alive or deceased, to come through. So that's why you have to be careful what we answer to, and what you, the title you give yourself. Make sure it's properly aligned with you. Really take time, and this is why, like I said, the scroll that we have, I'll let you read this, go through it, and it gives, before you even get to the names, it gives a huge layout and background information just on names, the name of ceremony, why it was important. It's like over 61 pages of information to read, so we get we can have a full understanding of what it is to giving yourself a name.
Understood.
Mm-hmm. So I hope that answers your question, Brent.
Yep.
Okay, good.
We got a question from the YouTube side. Shambhala Augusta said, I have a question about Trump working for Nanar. Since he's working for Nanar, why is he attacking those Hollywood pedophiles who are Illuminati members? Ain't he and them are brothers, and why is he attacking them? That's the question.
Okay, Trump, okay, first of all, Trump, if you go back to the, what was it, Leviathan 666 scroll, the picture of him on the front, I think that was Leviathan 666. Even way back there, the Millennium books, on and on and on, he talks about Trump. That's actually a picture of Trump. Even in the Holy Tablets, he gives a picture of the beast. That picture of that European guy, that's actually Trump at a younger age. All right. Now, Trump would be in line with the Raphael story, or Raphael story. Raphael, the one who blows the trumpet, or the trumpet blower. So Trump falls in line with that. Certain markers were given, whether it be for disagreeable things that happen or agreeable things that happen. So Trump will be that trumpet blower, that principle of Raphael. There'll be that trumpet or that sound that will be blown to signify a certain marker of things taking place or changes taking place, which is what we're dealing with now. Okay, so he will be working for, that's one of the markers to show us that he is in line with Enlil and his son Nanar and their son Ninurta. So, okay, now why is he attacking all those people? You have to remember, disagreeable is just that, these disagreeable beings, these demons, if you will. It's like people who worship the devil. How are you going to worship the devil knowing that let's say, I'm just speaking generally, knowing that the devil is a trickster? So that means that the devil's going to be his natural nature. He's going to trick even those that are his so-called followers. Okay, because the devil has a certain agenda. So you have to remember these Caucasians that they're being attacked. If you go back to the Caucasian history, going back to when they were first grafted, the purpose of them being grafted into existence was for work and for food. So we have to keep that in mind. That was their purpose. So we can't be surprised if they start attacking each other, because their whole thing was to self-destruct. They're going to be attacking each other. Bahiananan was explaining to us that all we have to do is just step out of the way. They're at war with each other. This goes back to a long battle of, as he said, Enlil and Enki. That war goes thousands of years back. That's a war between them. And he told us specifically just to stay out of it. Come out of that as much as possible. You know, if you are working in this system, like some of us are still, do it for a purpose. You know, use that money to be working towards doing something else. You know, saving up to, so when we're called to get up out of here, we can get up out of here. So yeah, they were just, the answer is, keep in mind that they were made in existence, grafted by unnatural nature to be workers and for food. So there's no reasons why that, you know, they are the ones even also that are being abducted versus us. Just most of those abductions are Mukasu or Caucasians, because they're a new species and are also
blood types.
Sorry?
I was saying O negative, typically O negative.
Well, their blood is Rh negative. That's the overall umbrella of.
Yeah. They say it's the rhesus gene they lack, or well, what they say is, which I think they got it backwards. They say that people who, they call it the Rh negative factor, and if you are negative, they say that you lack the rhesus gene, and if you're positive, then you have it. But I think it's the other way around. I think if you're negative, you probably have the monkey gene, and if you're positive, you don't, because most of the world is positive, you know.
Mm-hmm. You got, hold on real quick. Djah'utwy, you got that on the screen?
Yeah, I just got rid of them.
Okay. All right, good. Go ahead, Brother Graham. I'm sorry.
Just agreeing with you. Yeah, it's funny because when I was researching the Rh factor, getting real deep into that, they were talking about how it's often people who have the negative blood type who deal with paranormal, you know, whether it be spirits or abduction or whatnot.
Right. Yeah, most definitely. Mm-hmm. Right.
So Trump ain't necessarily helping us. He just doing what he do.
Yeah, he's on their side. The ones that he's on the disagreeable side. That's why he was mentioning Enlil and Nanar. These are beings that are heading all of this stuff that's going on, this disagreeable stuff. He's doing his job.
Mm-hmm.
Next question from the room.
My question is, Mac, is the accuracy of the I Am America map according to the master teacher?
Oh, yes. You said the accuracy of it?
Yes.
Oh, yes. In the Ptah.
Hey, me.
They are busy today. Give me 1 second here. Okay, brother.
Yeah, man. I want to say this real quick.
Yeah,
See how we called them black? I'm gonna say this real quick. I called them black devils out earlier, man, and now they just keep trying to get in. Man, this is too wild. Okay, but yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, brother. I'm America map.
Yes. in the calendar, the Nuwapian calendar scroll, number 200. He actually has it in here, and they gave it to the master teacher, Lori Toriel. It's on page 5. He actually, he has it in one of his scrolls. He told us about it. It says he says right underneath the actual map of it, he says every Nuwapian should have a copy of this map. So yeah, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll read the second paragraph on there. It says the science community has released the facts of meteorites hitting Earth on November 17th, 1998 AD and May 99 AD. These events coincide with a vision received by a Native American little girl by the name of Lori Adele Toy, who had published the I Am America map, which shows the different changes we will undergo as a result of these meteorite showers. The projected date for this map is about 2001 AD. Make note that our Supreme Grandmaster has prophesied the changes seen on the map way back in the 80s by way of the ancient ones who have guided us to the spot called Wahina. That'll be the land in Georgia. Yeah. So that's coming from the Nuwapian calendar scroll number 200, page 4 and 5.
Okay, got it.
All right. Yeah, definitely go on there. You see the Djah'utwy Harar Safun posting, showing the America map. There's different ones because it shows different elevations after so many years. I have the one. Matter of fact, I have that one. That's on the right. I'm supposed to.
Hey, you said 3000 AD?
Say it again.
Did you say 3000 AD or was there a time frame for when supposedly this is supposed to take place, or is this a slow
It already
transition?
started. Yeah, it already started around the projected date for that map is about 2001 AD. It was going to start taking place. But what you see on that map, that process has started in the year 2001. And it's gradually getting like
about
that.
to have a beach, huh?
Right. That's what you hear a lot of people say. I know when I was back home in Pittsburgh, they were saying, well, I forget, don't quote me. It's something like some people, depending on where you are, start buying property because it's going to eventually in due time be beachfront, depending on where you are. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I got a question. Or were you done, brother? Brother.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So you had mentioned how the native girl had got her revelation because of some of the meteorites that fell, and I was studying real deeply the whole theory behind the Earth being a spinning globe shooting through space.
Mm-hmm.
And just wondering if there's any thing in the scrolls or any knowledge on what, because I know we talked before and we said how it seems like a lot of the ancient cultures did talk about there being a firmament or some sort of something above protecting us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I wondered if that's the case, how do we even have meteors, or what are meteors, or I don't know if the science talks about it. I know the Bible sometimes say they're falling angels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
let's take it piece by piece. So the firmament part, let's address that first. The firmaments are basically, when it says that, like you said in the Bible, the firmaments, that's basically describing, as far as the actual fact would be, the inner planets, which is Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and then they're separated by the asteroid belt, okay? And then you have the outer firmaments. Outside of the asteroid belt, you have Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. So those are the two firmaments which are separated by the asteroid belt. The asteroid belt was caused by, if you read the ancient records, by the planet-sized craft, or the fleet of the craft was called N'Iburu, or some people call it Nibiru, When it crashed into planets coming through the solar system, that's what made the crash into the Earth, which made this asteroid belt, and also the moon. So those are the two firmaments that's mentioned, which is nothing but the smaller inner planets separating the bigger outer planets by in the middle asteroid belt.
But doesn't it say something along the lines of separating the waters?
Yes, because the waters of the bottom, which would be the inner firmaments, the waters from the inner planets, because they all had life on them at one time, and then the water from the outer bigger planets as well. Now that can also be taken a step further, and it's the water separating the waters from on this planet when the planet was forming, and the ammonia, hydrogen, and methane, different things were forming. And that first formation, the waters came on the Earth and then evaporated and started forming the waters above, which we call the second part of the biosphere, the atmosphere now of today. It could be that as well. But it's talking about the waters of the inner planets and the outer planets. The outer planets now also include these comets, which is recorded in the ancient scrolls as Atum's seed, panspermia. That's the scientific name for it, meaning when a comet or something brings life from out there into here on Earth as a contributor. So what we're talking about is, as the ancients recorded it, Atum's seed, or symbolically semen, hurling through space, this comet, which brought waters from out there, like out there, out in space. When it hit this planet, it brought waters. So thus you have the waters from the outer firmaments coming in, bringing it into the inner firmament set of planets, such as the Earth, bringing water, and that's what they call panspermia. Make sense?
I guess I get what you're saying. I guess I would have to get more into the breaking down so I can understand how you get into that conclusion. Maybe it's the translation of the words or something. I'm just not sure how you got to that conclusion, but I know there's lots of different interpretations of what those scriptures mean.
Yeah. So okay, let's just bring it up to date then. NASA has proved that the rocks that came here, asteroids, meteorites, etc., they bring certain metals, but also certain other things, such as ice, which is water. So anything coming into this planet that brings something from out there, that's panspermia, okay? So that's what we're talking about when it says the waters from out there. It's also referring to not just the waters in the outer firmaments, which is the bigger planets, but also waters from other comets and celestial bodies that are out here that came here and brought elements and liquids or ice and dust to here. That's all we're saying.
Shoot, I'd be quicker to believe somebody coming out of trance and telling me what the Akashic records say before I believe what NASA says.
Yeah, well, I use NASA. No, you're absolutely right. I use NASA just to say now even they're admitting that's what the point I'm trying to, why I mentioned them. They're actually admitting these things now. Even they are. That's why I say even they are even saying now. They're backing that up, right? What the Akashic records say.
Got you.
Right. When they start admitting stuff, you're like, okay, wait a minute, why are they doing that?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Next question from the room. You all have some real good questions, as always.
I got a question real quick. Could you go over and describe, I know you were just talking about in Biru, ni Ibru. Could you go over and discuss a little bit about who was manning the Ninga fleet or the Ninja fleet.
All right. So in the Holy Tablets, as well as many other sources, on Nibiru's journey, well, first, let me back up. Nibiru, or Nibiru, was a fleet. It wasn't just one craft. It was a name of a fleet of craft, just like they say, you know, space shuttle. There's many space shuttles. Okay. On Nibiru, or this particular Nibiru's routine orbit through the solar system, which is called a Shahar, which is 3,600 years. It went through, and normally on this routine orbit, there wasn't a bulge coming from behind Ea or Neptune. So on this particular orbit, it was some type of bulge coming from behind of Ea or Neptune, as it is recorded, which is also another water planet, I may add. So Nibiru, trying to not hit the planet, it reared off from its normal 3,600 year orbit, thus bumping into a planet called Vulcan or Maldek, which was actually a part of the Draco star system, by the way. Okay, and the beings on there, the Maldekians or Vulcans, released their crafts, their fleet called the Ninga fleet, which were mostly the warriors, which were the ones that resided in the waters. So this is why, as it is written, when the Nibiru crashed in, it destroyed most of the surface dwellers, okay, who weren't warriors. The warriors were underneath the waters, as it was written. So this Ninga fleet released their crafts, their fleet, thinking that Nibiru was attacking them, which it wasn't. It was just trying to rear off. And the crafts started to follow in track and try to attack Nibiru. For most of all of the crafts were, how do you say it, were defenseless. They couldn't stand the power of Nibiru. So 4 of them got caught in Nibiru's force fields, causing the crafts to spin in circular patterns, such a way where it made a ball, like 4 balls of energy. If you were to look up at it, you would see Nibiru in the middle, and around it were the crafts unarmed. I forget the word I'm looking for. Basically, spinning in circular directions, causing these huge white energy balls that you see in energy from spinning. Thus, Nibiru, an attempt to Nibiru to hurl them out or away from it, it hurled them out into space, but a few of the hurls got caught in the gravitational pull and headed straight to Earth. One bored a hole down to the center from the Arctic, 0 latitude, longitude, down into the Earth. One came back around. These, when I say one, I'm talking about these crafts that were caught from the Ninga fleet in Nibiru's force field, gravitational field. Other one came back around and smacked the bottom corner of the Tiwawat at the time, called Earth, smacked that out, and that craft came back around again and crushed that piece into little pieces, which became your asteroid belt. That's why the same type of minerals there are on this planet. And then another one hit. Each of these crafts were called winds. Another wind hit and formed what you consider the moon now. Okay, this is why the moon rock, which you can use to make glass, is the same rock that you can find in the Grand Canyon. And to be specific, the location is, they call it the Osiris Temple, the Shiva Temple, and the Isis Temple in the Grand Canyon. You can check that out. You can find the same rock formations. So the Ninga fleet was sent out by Maldek, also called Vulcan, which contained the warriors that were residing underneath the waters in Maldek. All right. Nibiru had no way of communicating with Maldek, of course, because this was just the routine orbit. It had nothing to do with Meldeck. And besides, at that point in time, you got to remember there's also, as it's told us, there's a galactical federation, just how the United Nations meet here. That's on a bigger scale as well. And at the time, the what do you call it? The not radar, but what do you call it? Kind of like almost like telepathy was not being able to use at that time. You know, the wireless communication, because it would get intercepted by disagreeable beings. So they had no way of communicating with them as it was written. So in summary, the Ninga fleet were the fleet of warrior crafts from this other water planet called Meldeck that was also part of Draco at one time. And that can be found in the Holy Tablets, the Journey of Nebu. That's what, chapter 1, tablet, let me see. I don't know what tablet that is offhand. Oh, tablet 5, chapter 1, tablet 5. All right. I hope that answered the brother's question.
Djah'utwy.
Mm-hmm. And talk up the offer. Next question from the room. Okay, while we're waiting for questions, Djah'utwy, if you have any, we'll take a quick break here. If you have anything to announce or any announcements or anything, updates that you want to give?
Yeah, I got a few of them. All right. For those who are, only I want to say thank you all for being on the call tonight. I called it earlier when I read about those disagreeables, like we were saying, those black devils, and as we saw, they got on the platform, you know. But that's why we have to stay vigilant. That's why we have to stay prepared, because they can look like us, they can walk like us, they can talk like us and sound like us, but they are not of the same seed. Going back to something that was even put in the Bible in Genesis, I think it was chapter 5 or Genesis chapter 23 and 5, where basically when God told said we're gonna put in between the devil's seed and the woman's seed. You know what I'm saying? We have to understand who's of what seed, because we know that we walk around here. There are many different types of extraterrestrial beings. And when I say extraterrestrial, we're not talking about, I don't want to spook people, because I know we got some new people on the call. We're not being to the point where we're talking about what TV has dramatized to say what an extraterrestrial little green men with big heads or whatever. But we understand, as the brother Amun was just elaborating on, that anything that comes into this atmosphere from outside of here is considered an extraterrestrial. It's extra to terra, to the earth. Is something extra that's added to this place. So there are many different things that come through here all the time, and we must understand that we are dealing with some of those that can take humanoid form. So with that, what I do want to say is, for those who are interested in learning our language of Wu-S'aBat, Miss Batia, excuse me, of Miss Batia, we do have a Telegram group that goes into that. It's a beginners group. If you need more information, you can contact myself, or you can get with brother Amun Rayay, or get with brother Amun so we can get your information and we can get you plugged into that group. Also, remember the spirit of love and unity. That is what we need to be operating in. For those who have, I mean, we see right now that the government is basically kind of, they're opening up things in different places. I don't know where everybody's calling from. I know here in Memphis, they are doing, in Shelby County, they are on phase 1. They have a 3-phase plan to open up businesses. So they're on phase 1 right now. If you're in Memphis and you want to know about the phases and how they're opening up, you can go to shelbycounty.gov website, and they have the information on the website. But I don't know in other places, in other parts of the country, I know that they're opening up. But the master teacher had told us this months ago. He told us that it's going to appear to die down, and then this thing is going to come back and it's going to really hit hard. So if you looked at some of the news briefings and the press briefings and things where I know there's one circulating right now where the director of FEMA was saying that this whole thing was a live exercise, and President and Trump was behind him like, well, I wish you would have told everybody. I'm sorry. That is funny. But for real, that's what this whole first wave has been. It's been actually just a way for them to mobilize themselves and for them to get in position for the real threat. Now, I'm not saying that the coronavirus is not real. I'm not saying that at all. But the way that they panicked it and they sold it at first was because they are already looking at how they're going to release it for real and how it's going to affect people. So this was a test run. So just be on the guard. Make sure you're stocking up. Remember when this thing first started, they told people to have at least 2 weeks worth of supplies. Don't forget that just because things are opening up, and matter of fact, get more than 2 weeks. You might want to try to get at least a month, 30 to 60 days worth of stuff, to be honest. So just remember that what's going on. Also, along with this virus, the math teacher told us about this and said that this is basically the dog flu. So, of course, first they had the bird flu, then we had the swine flu. So coronavirus is in actuality the dog flu. So if you have canines in your home or felines in your home, it is not wise to have them in your home. They need to be outside because they carry the virus. So, but of course, you all are who you are and you do what you want to do. But word to the wise, we are not supposed to have pets in our homes. For anyone that is interested and staying abreast of the nation and the freedom fight of the master teacher, there are several videos out right now. They just did a couple of new ones pertaining to how it was living on Tamaray. And for those of us who have had the chance to experience Tamaray, and I'm talking about experience Tamaray, not just the down there to visit part. I'm talking about to actually experience it. That's what we're trying to get back. That's what we're working to get back. You know what I'm saying? And there are pictures out there online and everything that showed what we did under the supervision and under the guidance of the master teacher. And he told us that was a template for how we were going to be doing things going forward in the hereafter. Well, now we are here in the hereafter, after the year 2000. So we are here now, and we have to start making these things a reality and start working and living for, of, and by each other. So also, if anyone has any Sabians or anyone out there who has businesses, we need to make sure that we are supporting our businesses. So if you have a business, if you have a trade or a skill, and you would like, in whatever area you're at, you can contact me about spotlighting businesses on the platform as well, because we have to make sure we understand and know what each other does, because things are finna start getting tight. And the thing is, we got to start working more with family. Now, I know, like I said, there are some people who are on the call who are new to our way of life. They're new to our culture. They are conscious to some degree. But at the same time, what I'm speaking of is a broader picture of what we need to be doing as a whole. We have to start putting ourselves in a position to start being able to take the reins as we see that the system is collapsing and falling. The world, the devil's world, is literally crumbling. You see it. You see what's happening. Their system is going down. And if you are holding on to their system, then you're going to be the things that happen to them that befall them are going to befall you as well. So you have to make your mind up about what do you want to do, who you going to roll with. You know what I'm saying? And with me saying that, I do mean that the road to our freedom is going to require some work. It's going to require some work. We're going to have to put our best foot forward. And if you are not willing to put your best foot forward, then you're going to fall victim to whatever's going on with them. But those are just a few brief announcements that I have. And if anyone needs more information on those things that I just said, you can always contact me. Again, my number is 901-240-3761. Djah'utwy Harar Safun. And with that, I will turn the class back over to Amun Nebu.
All right. Tower Attack, Lamont. All right. Anybody needed anything repeated? Anybody any questions on that for the Djah'utwy Harar Safun?
No.
Okay. All right. Next question from the room. So the first hour, we have wonderful, wonderful questions. Please keep them coming. Like I said, they don't have to be on any particular topic, just whatever questions you had. It's good to also throughout the week, prior to Friday, us having class, write your questions down on a piece of paper, write them down, or, put them in your phone, in your notes, whatever, and study your questions. Particular elder, I don't want to say his name out of respect, but he's on the call now. He always gives me wonderful advice. He said one day, he says many wonderful things to me, as he's been guiding me since I've known him. One thing that stood out to me, one of the many things was, he said, study your questions. And I kind of was like, huh? I mean, I knew I was listening, but I just didn't really understand that first. He said, no, son, study your questions. Or tell people to study their questions before they ask them. So let's say if your question is like, who is Amun Rayay? So rather than just stopping there and writing down something you don't know, okay, actually study it. Okay, look up Amun Rayay, and the more you study the question, then your questions will advance and more advanced, and then that'll lead to like 17 other questions from one question. So I know, like, I have a notebook with nothing but loaded just questions. I have two big, within this notebook, I got two other notebooks in there with just questions upon questions because of what the elder told me, study your questions. So you'll be surprised what you'll get when you go back.
The less you know.
Huh?
I said, one of my favorite quotes, the more you learn, the less you know.
That's right. And you'll see that we're just scratching the surface of stuff, even with all this information, we're still, that's one thing our master teacher said, this ain't nothing yet,
I guess I got another question I could ask then.
Okay, speak up just a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yep.
Like you, I have like a list of questions. So I was just looking on there, and I was recently researching Empress Verdiasi.
Oh, yes, the Wu-S'aBat Moors, yes.
Yeah, the Wu-S'aBat, yeah. So I had never learned about what she did until recently, about how she, went back and looked at all the titles, the supposed Louisiana purchase and all this, and found out that it wasn't legit, and was able to take back her indigenous lands. So like right now, a lot of Louisiana and that whole area is really under her, like that's all her land.
Yeah, and they did the same thing to her that they did to us and our master teacher. They killed some of her, family members. Yeah. There's a book. We're just real quick. I wanted to say this to you the other day. I forgot. You want to check out this scroll written by our master teacher. It's called "Let's Set the Record Straight." And it talks a lot about the questions that you ask. Well, indigenous laws and rights and stuff like that. That's what that scroll was for. This is when we were going through our Yamasi Moore's school of thought.
Okay, so that'll be a good one for me then. Okay,
yeah, check that out. The brothers, you can definitely get you that. That's a
and
good
then
one.
also, I was going to ask.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So No, it's all good. Thank you. So knowing that we have, people who are standing up for our ancestors and
Yes.
taking back what's our heritage. From my studies, a way to really operate it, like at least in society, and is to have what they call the 3 badges, which is nationality, tribe, and land. So I was just wondering.
You forget one thing though. In order to be a nation, you need flag, land, and a language. This is why so many of our brothers and sisters here. When I say here, I mean just just on the planet, just working day and out, try to get their sovereignty, their freedom, just period. Whatever you call yourself. This is why so many of our people. It works to an extent, but they hit a ceiling. It doesn't fully, because they're still falling back under religion and not culture, because they're still using the dialects, which will be either Arabic, Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, etc. And they're still, even their books are still taking them backwards. And it's like they're jogging, but then they'll smoke a cigarette. It's like going forward and then take a step back. It keeps looping themselves back into that vicious cycle. So in order to have a nation, you need a land, language, and a flag.
Got you. Okay.
Right. That's the difference between us and them. And I'm not saying this is better. This is what we're not saying that at all. It's just saying this is how the master is able to do what he did already, because it's already done on our end. Meaning for us.
Got you. I know that they say I do know that they specify how we are using a bastardized language, and according to the Moors, their language was Moorish Latin. But as you were talking about before, I guess that's also just another.
Yes, and that's why right. And this is one of the reasons, like I said, one of the reasons, not the reason, one of the reasons when the master teacher takes us through these schools, we get to learn about it, but also it gives the master teacher trying to touch all those people. He's trying to reach over here and grab them and say, hey, that's good. That's a good start. Let's take it further. Let's keep on going. It goes further. It's not wrong. It just goes further. 5% nation, 5% nation of gods on earth. It's not wrong, but that's just a branch of Islam. Like, it's still religion. It goes further than that. And this over here. So it's bringing everybody together, just under facts. So that's why you may see some like, okay, Empress Verdiasi, right? Okay. Now, before we even go into her, we're taught to, okay, well, before we even do that, what does the word Louisiana even mean? So the master teacher may ask something like that.
King Louis and Queen Anna together.
Louis and Anna,
were able to give that land to them.
Right. So, and that would even come from, because the etymology, the name Louisiana is from Luis and Anna, or Louis and Anu. And Anu would be the Sumerian, in the Sumerian language of the Most High, the one in charge of the Anunnaki, Anu. See, and all that's just from that one word. We can go on and on, but just in your research alone, that's how we do. You have the same study habits, dissecting, real meticulous. That's how you want to be. Continue to be. I'm sorry.
Got you. That makes sense. I guess what I was wondering is the I forget it. Wu-S'aBat. Are they working on getting land so that we can start to do our own thing?
Yes, we already had land. That was the one in Georgia that we heard Djah'utwy, Harar, Safun saying, Tamaray, when he mentioned Tamaray, that was the land in Georgia where the pyramids were, that they illegally seized from us. But our land is over in Africa too, and that's a whole nother thing that's being worked on right now as we speak.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, if that's the end of that, I got a question from YouTube. Brother Heriberto Cruz, he's asked, he says, Rahubat Muisar. So who was on Nibiru? Disagreeables? That's his question.
Okay, there are many different beings. That's a good question, by the way. That's a good question. This was asked some time ago as well. There are many different beings on Nibiru, okay? If you go way back, and the reason I'm referring to, some people may say, well, why do you keep on going way, way back? Because it proves that that same information that we were being taught way back then in the religious schools is the same thing now, but just on a higher level. Meaning, the reason why, so the underlying purpose is for me to doing that is to quiet or silence those naysayers that say, you still have some people saying, well, the master teacher didn't write these newer books, the newer scrolls and stuff, you know, where he did. It's the same thing. So that's why I always cross-reference with the so-called old and new. I don't like saying old and new, but just so everybody could understand. So even way back in the holy tablets, in any of the scrolls that dealt with the final path, which is an extraterrestrial series of scrolls, you know, the Risk and Ilion, Fact of Fiction, scroll number 151, 152, Niwabu, Amun, Fact of Fiction, Nibiru and the Anunnaki, Fact of Fiction, scroll number 154, you know, on Shambhala Agartha, what's it, Mission of Earth and Extraterrestrial Creation, scroll number 82, you see in the back of these, you'll see the final path, Man from Planet Risk, scroll number was 80, you know, on and on and on. You'll see that there's 144 at that time when it was revealed to us. It was 144,000 different beings on there. So it says 144,000. Those referring to the beings, different species of beings, all coming together for a particular purpose. Some agreed, some disagreed, but that's necessary. Okay, let's bring it up to speed. Our Council of the 24 Elders, referring to Patarak number 1, which is called the Office of the 24 Elders, we have 24 in the seat, okay, in each different, you know, cities, etc. You have 12 agreeable, 12 disagreeable, 12 females, 12 males. This is necessary because one of the reasons is if somebody is making a serious decision on something, you need to hear it from both sides, okay? So you have somebody here, well, what about this, and over here, what about that? And you put everything on the table, and then you come up with a good decision. Whereas if it was just one-sided all the time, that one-sided decision was good or bad, it doesn't matter. It may not be the right decision. So you need people who agree and disagree. When you say disagree, that doesn't mean bad. A lot of people think it's bad. It says you choose to disagree, which it can be a good thing. You may not agree that, hey, I'm gonna put on all this suntan oil God in the sun because I disagree with that because I know suntan oil makes bad for our skin, on and on and on. So you need a balance. It created a balance in decision making. Okay, so these were beings that were agreeing and disagreeing on certain things that regarded to whatever galaxy they were going to, whatever planet, whatever specific beings on that planet, on and on and on. Okay, so now I'm gonna bring it from the religious doctrine up into the actual facts. So in the religious doctrine, we learned that this Ibru, or called Nibiru, had these beings on it, and they were for us. But that was in the religious school. We were still acknowledging the Anunnaki as the beings that created us, on and on and on. Once we came out of that school, we realized that these were actually the flesh eaters. So the beings, the actual facts on the beings on Nibiru, or Nibiru, would be your Anunnaki and Draconian type beings, to be specific, on there. This would be like the Anunnaki, those that are Anu, the An or Anus from, which would be your humanoid reptile beings. And then you had those like Nimun or Nima, the one we knew as Id or Id, who would be more draconian type beings from the Draco star system. All right. So you had just those two right there alone let you know that what type of beings you're dealing with. Ids father, Alalu, or Sidihis in the Holy Tablets, that will be her father, who was also of this draconian type species. These were ones were called the Wu-S'aBat, or the thrones, or the Athinim in the Hebrew. If you refer to is Jesus God scroll, number, what's that? Number 120. You'll find that on there in this diagram, the hierarchy. So those would be the most ancient, the ancient ones out of that group, the Wu-S'aBat, or these draconian type beings. Those will be on the Nibiru. Now on our side, you have the craft called the Binu, which will be where the Muntaru or the Natharu reside, and then the smaller crafts called the Hinu. The smaller crafts, or the Hinu, were also called or referred to as the Manjet or the Manthet, also referred to as the personal crafts of the Natharu. So let's say Kansu or Kanun or Kanas. Now that we call him, his personal craft will be a Manjet or a Hinu, and they go up into the big mother craft called the Binu. Whereas on the Anunnaki Draconian side, you had Nibiru or Nibiru, and the smaller crafts that we knew as Sham. Okay. I hope that answered the brother's question. Okay.
I think they got it. Hold on.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Concerning Aset, Isis, and her
Yes.
grandfather,
Right.
so learning his sacred name.
Yes.
Just the basic on the breakdown of that, and afterwards, once she learned his sacred name, what does she do after with that power?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have Isis in the Greek, right? And then you go a little bit further back into Egypt. You got Aset, Ashtat, and now we say Arashtat. Okay. So the master teacher talked about this. Somebody asked him the same question. And he was basically saying that, it was on a video, I think. This proved that there was still that type of male type, what do you call it? You know, I'm in charge of everything. What do you call that?
Chauvinistic.
I think that's what the name you referred to. Yeah. Because why did, he was posing the question, he said something to the fact of, okay, why did this man or this male being, why could he only have it? Why couldn't this female have it? That's kind of how he was putting it. Okay. So let's see. I'm coming from, remember the scroll called Ancient Egypt and the Pharaoh, scroll number 190. Remember that one?
What's the title again?
Ancient Egypt and the Pharaohs.
Okay, let me check it out. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Scroll number 190. I'm on page 200. I mean, it's another courses too, but we'll just get right to it, and I'll just read the thing. So this deals with Arashtat getting the sacred name from Rayay. She was jealous of her grandfather Rayay, the wisest and most practiced of all the quote-unquote gods in the way of magic. With time, he had become old and weakly. Isis watched him, thinking of ways in which she might learn the secret of his power, for he would never give it up of his own free will. Then she noticed that saliva dribbled from his lip, and so decided on a plan of action. Secretly, she collected some of this liquid and mixed it in her hand with the earth upon which Ra had walked. Okay, as you see also now, I'm just stopping right there quick. As you see, this is also symbolically speaking as well. Okay. From the clay, she fashioned a serpent. Then using her magic, she transformed it into an arrow. When her task was completed, she took the arrow and voicing words of power. She secreted it at a crossroads where she knew Ra would pass the following day. As the dawn broke, Ra, accompanied by other gods, walked his familiar road from the horizon to the horizon, eventually coming to the crossroad, and the hidden magical arrow, sensing the great god's presence. The arrow suddenly sprang to life and plunged its serpent fang deep into his leg. Ra fell to the ground in pain and agony, and the poison spread throughout his body. The other gods gathered around helpless, for it was beyond their understanding that the great and all-powerful Ra could be so afflicted. He was the father of the gods. He had created all things, and they could not comprehend how anything of his own making could harm him. After a time, Ra summoned the strength to beckon one of them to his side. Then, speaking in a barely audible whisper, he told them he feared for his life, adding that he had no idea what power could have caused his distress. He begged that the gods of magic should be summoned to restore him to health. None of these gods knew how to help their god. Whichever way they tried, they could not help Ra or Rayay. Then came Isis, who immediately went up to Ra's side and whispered into his ear that she could free him from the magic only if he would reveal his true name to her, thereby giving her the secret of his magical power. Initially, Ra tried to trick Isis by giving her titles and listing his achievements and honors rather than his name. He said his name was creator of the heavens above and the earth below. He said that he was the one who made the waters flow and caused the air to move. He was the lord of the horizon, of dawn and dusk, father of the gods and master of the nows, the origin of time. He was Khepri, or Kathafreye, as we know now, in the morning, Rayay at noon, and Atum in the evening. However, Isis retaliated by telling him that he delayed his cure, for without his true name, there was nothing that she could do to help him. Thus he revealed his name to her. After much thought, Ra agreed under the condition that she would only reveal it to her son, Har, Heru, Horus, and that he should likewise keep it to himself until the end of time. Upon giving her magical formula, and the poison began to leave from his painful body. Soon he was restored to health. Once she, Aset, learned the secret name of Father Ra, she became the most powerful of all the deities and had knowledge of all things. Okay, so that was from page 200 of Ancient Egypt and the Pharaoh scroll number 190. Now, as you see, if you hear the pattern or the rhythm of that story, you can see how also this is symbolic of the actual sun traveling from horizon to horizon, coming to this crossroad, and now finishing its path, and now it has died until it is reborn again. That's also the symbolic story is that. Same thing in the Holy Tablets. A lot of those, even mentions in the Holy Tablets, how a lot of those stories were also, the stories about those wars and different things, those were also symbolic stories of planets, the birth and growth and destruction of planets, galaxies, etc., and star systems. So they had many different meanings, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it's helped me. It's helped me a bit.
Anything you want me to explain some more?
Yeah, the symbolism of the path of the sun.
Okay, so let's stop right there. We'll go step by step. So the path of the sun. So it says, she collected some of his liquid and mixed it in her hand with the earth upon which Ra had walked. Okay. Skip down. She secreted it at the crossroads where she knew Ra would pass the following day. So this is talking about Rayay's, or the sun's, or Shamash, the physical sun's travels from Atum Rayay, first thing in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
As it gains its transitional power to move to the next position, that was associated with the dung beetle that we call dub, associated with the Nathar Kafafreye or Kafre.
Oh.
You with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you saw Kaf Ray, that was symbolic of the transitional power of moving from one spot to another. So, and specifically, the power that Atum Rayay used to move to the next stage of the sun's position. So you'll see the dung beetle, the Kafaf Rayay, with the dung beetle head or the dove head, depicted with dove head, talking about just as the sun or Rayay goes across the horizon to Atun Rayay, so does the dung beetle ball up the dung, which has nutrition in it for its young, and pushes it along the horizon the same way. So the crossroads, the path that is talked about, that, as they say, Ra did, was talking about the path from Atum Rayay, when the sun appears to rise at dawn, up to 12 p.m. noon, all the way to 3 p.m., which would be Atun Rayay, which would be the most highest point of the sun to us, where the most energy is. Okay, at its highest point is climactical point. You at the age of, let's say, 24, at your highest peak of your life, and then you start to age and wither along your path. So now you go from Atun Rayay to Amun Rayay. Now you're becoming start to becoming an elder now. That's your elder path now, from Atun Rayay to Amun Rayay. And now you're about to set, Sethmos, Seti, Sutuk, Satak, Set. You started off on 4 as a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Start to push up, walking on how many?
On 2.
And then you got a cane now, so now you got to walk on 2, and you got this other third thing there. You get it?
See, yes.
Okay, so this is talking about the path of also the sun, but also the path of a being, the 3 stages, or 3 degrees, if you will. You get it? I'm trying to say it without saying it.
Yeah.
Okay. For those that know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah. I'm grabbing it. I'm grasping it.
Okay. I'll give you a reference, because you said you're grasping it.
Mm-hmm.
Find more information about this is symbolic of Ra or Rayay's journey across the heavens from Atum Rayay to Amun Rayay, and then it goes through a resting period from Amun Rayay to Anun Rayay. Anun Rayay will be 3 a.m., the highest point of dark or shadow hour.
Is that A-N-N-U?
Yeah, A, N as in Nancy, U, N as in Nancy. Anun Rayay. That will be 3 a.m., the highest point, not of daylight, but the highest point of darkness. The Duat, the netherworld, the underworld. Until it rebirths again as Atum Rayay. So a good reference for Kapep Rayay or Kaf Rayay, or as they call Kepri, this transitional power would be if you go to Feeding the Forces, Astral Facts number 2. So let's go there real quick. So, because I don't want to leave you off this call with you kind of like, I kind of understand. You know, I want to make sure that you get it.
No, I'm grasping.
I'm sorry? Are you grasping? Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm grasping.
Let's wrap it up with this final reference. If you go to, it actually starts on page 1, Feeding the Forces, Astral Facts number 2, page 1, verse 2, all the way over to maybe like page 3, verse 5. So I'll just skip to the part for the sake of time. It says Kaf Ray, meaning the transformational power of Rayay, is the sun at dawn on the eastern horizon, or Kaf Rayay or Kafaf Rayay, passing power on to Atum Rayay, who transforms it into Rayay Harar Aketwi, the second of the 2 Akertwi lions. So let's go line for line, word for word, make sure we all understand what that means. So the sun at the point of dawn. There was also a scroll called Coming Forth by Day, or the Coming Forth by the Point of Dawn, falsely called the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Okay? Written by Anunk and Atun, falsely called Ankhenaten, and the scribe Ani. Okay? So this is what it talks about too in that particular scroll as well. So back to Feeding the Forest Artifacts number 2, page 3, verse 5. So this Kepri in Greek, this Chaf Rayay, or Katep Rayay in Sabbatic language, would be the power that changes the transformation of power of Rayay at a particular point, which is at the morning time, or Atum Rayay. When it passes that power, when Kafre passes power onto Atum Rayay, that's now where you have this, where you get the word horizon from. And it says it transforms it into Ray Harar Aketwi. It transforms into Horus, the Horus rising, the protector. When you say Harar or Horus, you're saying protector. This is why every pharaoh at a particular time was named after Harar, because he was considered a protector. So the real title of Harar, falsely called Horus, would be Rayay Harar Aketwi. So let's do that in sections. Rayay, the sun, not the physical sun, but the sun as far as the Nathar goes, our guardian. Harar, the protector, the son of Arashtat or Isis, and Osar, Osiris. The last word, Aketwi, Aket, lion, Twi, two, double, dual. And it's depicted as two lions facing east and west, representing the summer and winter solstice. And then in the middle of each lion, there's a Rayay or sun. This is where the Alpha, I am the Alpha, and I am the Omega. We would say I am the Atum Rayay and the Amun Rayay. Because Rayay covers all of that, both sides. It starts on the east, rises up in the north, sets in the west, and goes down deep into the underworld, if you will, the darkness, and comes back being reborn again. So this all is dealing with the transformational power of Rayay. And that's what we call Kafaf Rayay. That makes better sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, oh, not for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't have a question, but I wanted, since you was talking about the spittle and everything with dealing with Arashtat and Ray for her to get the name, I just wanted to read this from Genetic Kiss page, coming from Genetic Kiss, Actual Fact 109, starting on page 1. And it says, Genetic Kiss. To kiss or caress with your lips, even open your mouth, use your tongue, and exchange saliva. 2, genetics. Science dealing with hereditary, variation, reproduction related to a gene, the biological factors determining heredity. 3, the heredity tendency of an organism is to transmit its own nature to its descendants. 4, so there is much more to one open mouth kiss and even more to sexual exchange of bodily fluids. 5, you are like all other 30 people's genes for 4 generations back. Even their zodiological signs affect you. Going to page 2 with verse 6. When you kiss someone or exchange any bodily fluids, you are taking in the genetics of all 30 people and everything about each, good and bad, diseases, emotions, all of it, whole beings. 7, that's the reason why when you catch your mate with another person, you what you think is hurt is in fact all the beings in your bloodline, genes crying out to your physical. Okay, I want to stop right there. Because Acid used his spittle, used his spit, his saliva, in order to construct a weapon against him. So what now? I guess now my thing would be, what would be the 30 spirits that would have been affecting Rayay. You know what I'm saying? Because even though she was trying to get his name or his big ran, but those generations back still would have came with that. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
so there was a lot more to it than just taking some spit and constructing it into a serpent to spring up and attack him, using his own fluids against him. You see what I'm saying?
So I said some of it you gotta remember now, some of these stories are stories talking about the travels or births or deaths of planets, star systems, galaxies, you name it, put in a story type fashion. Just like with the story of Murdoch fighting Mother Hubbard and split Tiamat, or who was also Tiamat, split her bowels, and all the things came out. That was the story of Nebu hitting the Earth and shedding all these, making all these other planets and asteroid belts. You see what I mean? So with Arashtat and Rayay, you have to remember now. You're talking about Rayay's mentioned in the beginning scroll. Rayay was the first being to come here to this planet, but that shows you that he was from somewhere else. And even prior to the Muntoru and the Ruskians, the Murzaku, the providers, coming from Ilion to here, or Ma'alan to here, this planet, they first went to Siptu. Remember that? Siptu would be Sirius, which is also a planet in Ilion. And it was unconducive to their living. So they went on to other things. Like they even stayed in Pleiadians. There's records of them being in Orion, Mars, and then coming here. So at each place there was beings already. So she, in that sense, she would have tapped into that's where his genetics would go back to. Those beings on those places prior to him coming here. You see what I mean? So he had a fleet. He belonged to a fleet of beings, or these scientists, that resided on Pakahare, as we used to call it, which is Mars. We used to also call it Lahamu. And then all the way up to Siptu, Sirius, or Sothis, or Sabat, Sahu, or Sah, Orion, and even the Orion Nebula. You have, was it MK41, and these were the Zeta Reticulans would be. And then from there, Pleiades. This is in the Taurus constellation. Then you had so there was a lot of different beings. I mean, there's a lot of, their lineage goes way, way, way back to many different, even star systems, if you will. And that's what we're going to right now with us as Sabatu, going back from out here to the midpoint, which will be Sirius, and you see that's a certain set of genetics there. So to us, that would be our higher dimension. Because people think dimension is just some spirit thing. No, it could be just a planet or a galaxy or star system that there's older, wiser, and more technological beings there that already went through what we went through. So that is what Isis, if you want to ask the question that way, that's what she would be tapping into from Rayay going back into his lineage. You see what I mean? So now you get into the Ogdos that we now call the Muftaru. Nun tat nun, hook tat hook, hook tat hook. Those beings are way, way back. You with me? You there?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
Now, because what I was gonna say was, so basically we'd be talking about going back still through his line would be the Murzaku, right? We're talking about but his, but I know, but see, okay.
Okay. Here's the thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's the thing that might. Can I see where you're going? When the Murzaku, or the Riskians, those from the 19th galaxy Ilion, when they come here to Earth, they're now called Natharu or Muntoru. You get that? Because they're now because you got to remember, Muntoru means watchers, overseers, guardians, protectors. They mean all four. So as a provider coming here, they would now be the guardians and watchers over this planet. This is why Yanun has a galactical name, Yanun. And then that's his galactical name though. So here, he would be Atumraye, and when he incarnates here, we would know him as Djah'utwy or Djah'utwy or Melchizedek, on and on. So the different the different titles also now, as we see, represent different stages, which represents different areas or portions in space or in a particular galaxy. So on Risk, and then coming here, and then we're in a certain continent, depending on what continent it is to what people, that dictates a title too. So as a Riskian, here now, being a watcher as a Nathoru, and then incarnating all the way down into whatever, implanting itself into whatever race or whatever, that has another title. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Okay, so I got you. I got the whole part about the titles are dealing with different stages depending on, and those are also dependent upon location.
Right.
Because depending on where on the planet or where in the universe he's at, the titles would correlate to wherever he's at and the time period in which he's in. So I got all that.
Okay.
But I'm saying I'm going back to Ray. Okay, looking away from the story symbolically of the planets, but just kind of looking at it more of a figuratively, in a figurative sense, like taking it as a literal thing. You still have that. You still have the workings there where she took. Acid was able to take his essence through his fluids and construct a weapon against him. She basically did biological warfare. In a sense.
That would be if you go to the Sacred Wisdom of Djah'utwy. Yeah, you're right. Sacred Wisdom of Djah'utwy. That would be. Now you get into Hikka, which the lower form will be alchemy. Being able to extract the energy or spiritual principles of something physical. So let's say if you have an element like titanium or plutonium, and be able to extract make it give up its energy or spiritual principles and utilize that. That's what we're dealing with now. So yeah, so in that sense, so if you take away the story, the symbolic part, and deal with the actual story using actual facts, using his DNAs from him going back, like I said, you had them tracing all the way back to Risk, the Riskians. You have using his DNA, the power in it, because you can imagine the power in his DNA, right? With his lineage. Taking that, but using it against him, mixing it with something other than to now make it, you're adding something other than to those DNA strands. Remember how when we talk about dimerization? Soon as your DNA dimerizes and attaches to something outside of the DNA strand, now you have an astral mutation. You have some type of mutation going on. So it's like a little bit different. That's what we're dealing with now. So you're dealing with the saliva, the DNA, but adding something to it to change its, to alter, I should say, its original form or purpose. And this is what we're talking about in the Intelligent Design, Divine Design, or Plot of Aliens, scroll number 46, where it talks about your DNA, and your telomeres are programmed for you to be this tall, this tall, this weight, never. But it can be influenced or altered by what you put in your body, on your body, and where you surround yourself with. And this is what Arashtab was doing. Inserting it and use what they call altering, what they refer to normally in genetics as genetic determinism, which is dealing with anything, which is basically your fate. So that actually, she changed that because she added something to it, and now altered what they call this genetic determinism, determining your determination of your genes. Now she made it a different fate. So what she made that DNA was just not your normal DNA, RNA, and TNA, but what they call aberrant, ABERANT, aberrant DNA, which is just a genetic term for any change in normal DNA. You know, amplifying something, changing the pattern. That's what she did. Now she was able to, she had his essence, but now use it in a way to where it's now, as like you said, use the word weapon. You get that?
Yeah, she weaponized his genes.
Okay. So if you go back to, you're silly. If you go back to actual fact, number 46, intelligent design, divine design, or plot of aliens, page number 12, verse 30, and it, well, page 10, verse 12, all the way over to page 12, verse 30. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that got me. Okay. No, I wanted to kind of pick at that because of the fact of taking the ancient stories, and then, like we said, they are playing out still today. So when that question came up, like you said, you think about this whole thing, because now they just had another news briefing that came, I think, like two or 3 days ago, talking about now they found that all these other things, all these other symptoms that are coming from this COVID virus, as well as other ways it can be transmitted. You see what I'm saying? And so, like with that piece you just gave me right there, and then just thinking about it, they're always looking at us. They're always using us as a people as the guinea pigs to test whatever they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because our genes are stronger than theirs. You know what I'm saying? So, so even now, when you look at this story, she knew that the only way to get what she wanted from him was to get into the genes. So in actuality, Acid was she was a geneticist as well. Then,
of course, all these things were. Yes. Okay, go do this.
So
go to Is Egyptian Ontology or Mythology? Actual facts number 30. Go to page 17. If anybody else has it too, if you could be so kind, everybody go to Actual Facts number 30 is Egyptian Ontology Mythology. Actual Facts number 30, page 17.
I don't have that. I have ontologies. I have ontologies of time. So I don't have that scroll.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll read it. And the reason why I cut you off, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you were saying a good point, and there's a reference for that will fill in the gaps. That's why I stopped you right there for a quick second. It says, for example, in ancient Egypt, you read of Atum or Tum, who represents the transcendent cause, the absolute of all, the one, the first true Natoru, and creator who made the world and everything in it. Now, before we go to the next verse, transcendent, that deals with beyond, like exceeding or outside of the ordinary range. Okay. Verse 38. Within him, and this is where it pertains to what you were talking about, within him was the potential for all life. The very name Atum, among other things, means or comes from the word completeness or totally. In regarding himself, he created Shu, the male Nathor of air and breath, and Tafnut, the female Nathor Tet of water, moistness. Aware of his being alone as one, he is said to have masturbated, fertilized himself with his own manan, semen, sperm, which contain mafkuthet, divine force in the nashut, energy, called by some Chi, and gave birth to these twins, Shu and Tafnut. Atum was often shown in human form, holding or sucking his erect kazdab or phallus penis, symbolizing the act of regeneration. This is symbolism. You can find this on the papyrus of Turin, now in Italy Museum. There you will see Geb rolled over with his kazdab in his mouth. Okay, so it goes on further to talk about the thing. But the main thing, the highlight of that was, you know, like you were saying, the reason for Arashtat extracting the liquid, you know, getting the liquid and so on and so forth from Rayay was verse 38. Within him was a potential for all life. The very name of Tum means, you know, so on and so forth. He had all the ingredients in there for whatever needed to be created, if you will.
Power. Top attack.
Mm-hmm. And you could also cross-reference that with, for those who don't have that, kind of some people have scrolls, other people don't have certain scrolls, you know. The astral fact number 11, Aset, Asar, Neptat, and Satuk. Astral facts number 11. You can go to page 13, verse 70. And it gives you more information on that.
Top attack. All right, we got about 10 more minutes. So if anyone else has any more questions, we got about 10 more minutes before we wrap up this call. Go ahead and get them in now.
I just want to say real quick, I personally thank everybody for being on here because, you know, people show their thanks. But I thank you all because it goes both ways. Believe me, it's not just myself or who many of the hundreds of teachers within our tribe teaching. It's not just that. You all asking questions, and I'm purposely saying you all because it's not me, it's you all stimulating what am I trying to say? Stimulating whatever is out there, whatever we want to call it, reasoning to pull stuff out. Stuff that I may have forgot or just didn't know, you know. So it works both ways. It's like the more I teach, even to this day, I see that it's a back and forth there. It's not me teaching. You are teaching, well, whoever's asking the question, I'll just say, is teaching as well because you're pulling out stuff. I remember reading a Master's Secret. It's called, he says, stop. The Master says, stop saying, I did this or I thought of that. That wasn't you. It was Sabab. Well, at the time, the word for reason was Sabab or reasoning, Sabab. He said, start saying it's reasoning. And almost made me look at it, reasoning as it's almost like a separate force or entity within itself, you know? So that's what I'm saying, like we're all pulling from this reasoning this bowl of reasoning to come up with these answers. So it takes both sides, you know, someone asking, someone relaying it, and vice versa. It goes back and forth. So that's why I appreciate it, you know. Don't take this lightly.
All right, I do have a question.
Yes.
Pertaining to the barriers of the North and South Pole.
Yes.
In the shape of Tiamat. I remember reading somewhere, I'm forgetful where it was, that we still haven't seen parts of the Earth. I'm not sure if the master teacher is talking about the inner Earth or the surface.
Yes.
What would be on the other end of that, the high walls, just like they did in the Game of Thrones. They stole that information somewhat about the part of the world that hasn't been seen by humans.
Yes. Well, I know definitely you hit around the button where you said inner Earth, because right now we're think of it like this: the Earth is the same as the body, and vice versa, as you already know. 80% water, 20% land or gross material, bone, tissue, organelles, tendons, ligaments, so on and so forth. The same thing with the planet. We have an emotions, energy and motion, emotion. We all know about. This E, when it becomes in motion, this energy, when it becomes in motion, causes a certain climate in your body. Okay, I'm mad, I'm sad, upset, jealousy, envy, hate, and all those things, those ones I listed right there, those are based from fear. And this is what the master was called in the potential scroll, the mind scroll, the 5 quintuplicated ethers. 5 quintuplicated ethers, all stemming from fear, envy, jealousy, lust, all those things. So this would be the climate that we let create at times or at different points in times in our body. It heats up, depending on what emotion. It cools down, depending on emotion. It heats up and cools down depending on what practice you're doing. You may be doing a certain practice where you can control the heat and cooling systems of your body now. Okay, and mechanisms. Mechanisms meaning like if I yawn, you'll yawn. There's certain mechanisms in us we haven't detected yet. This is still answering your question. Same thing with the earth. If you go to, let's say, the Arctic Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, on and on and on. The salt in the water, the salinity, if it gets too diluted or too heavy with salt, it causes, and it's the origin of the weather that forms above the water, if that makes sense. So if the salinity of the salt isn't normal, it causes an emotion and causes weather. So the cause of hurricanes, one of the causes of hurricanes above the water, which is where they start, is in the water, dealing with the salt and water balance, it being out of balance. So if you are following what I'm saying, it's the same principle. We're nothing but a bag of salt and water, 80%. Same thing with the earth. It's the same thing. So why am I saying that? To answer your question, all these things, that's just on the biosphere. I'm talking about from the bottom of the ocean, the sand or whatever, where there's a thick level, they're finding of let me see, is it methane or ammonia? I think it's methane, something like that. It's like a cloud way down there. The biosphere is from down there all the way up, coming out the water, hitting the first portion of the clouds of the atmosphere, if you will. That's the biosphere. So they're still finding stuff just within that alone. Okay? Once again, the area I'm just referring to now is just the biosphere, the bottom of the ocean floor to the atmosphere, where the clouds are, let's say. Then if you go further down into the 7 natural chambers of the inner earth, which became additional chambers due to the extraterrestrials there with their drilling instruments, etc., and crafts drilling out stuff. All those together, you have your Agartha, Shambhala, Ishara, and Wahili, all the sacred site down there. That's the part where they really haven't found out yet. Okay, that we know about Shambhala and Agartha for short. Then you have now the Earth's crust, which will we consider Gab or Sabad. The Earth's crust would be like your epidermis, your first layer. Then you have your dermis, second. Hypodermis, those layers of skin. The hypodermis and dermis is where you start getting into 2nd, 3rd degree burns. And there's just now finding new organs and layers within our bodies. Just like within the layer of Earth's crust, they're still finding other things, other elements, insects, you name it. So I'm saying all that to say yes, yes, and yes. All the 3 things you asked, yes, we're finding new things on the Earth's surface, crust, and even below the Earth's surface in Shambhala and Agartha. If you go back and watch the cartoon Atlantis, it really lays it out for you. It's a cartoon, but we would appreciate it more, what we know. I hope that answered your question for me.
Yeah, that gave me some light. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, with that, family, once again, thank you for your wonderful questions. Thank you for tuning in. Be safe. Make sure you're eating right, breathing right. Don't forget about the breath. Make sure you're breathing right. Djah'utwy, Harar, Safun, you want to say anything? Anything before we go?
Yeah. Before we go, I'm gonna take us out with this is from the Psalms of Yanun. This is Psalms 49, and it says, "Let us Sabians of Wu-S'aBat rejoice, masculines of Wu-S'aBat, heed to our instruction. Think before you act, as a mocker who does not listen to rebuke. From their mouth and lips he has a craving for violence and conflict. Yet he who guards his mouth and lips guards that which is right. He who speaks rashly will come to ruin. Being right is truly being right, not just thinking you're right. The sluggish craves and gets nothing, yet the desire of the diligent are fully satisfied with what Ptah Yanun incarnated to teach. The true Sabian hates what is false and only accepts and teaches what is true and confirmed. He seeks no reward for teaching Wu-S'aBat. He seeks no office or power for what was given to him by Ptah Yanun. One person pretends to be wise when they are not. Another devoted student who respects the master teacher and know they can never be him, only walk with him. So rejoice in being a student of Ptah Yanun. And with that, we are all students of Wu-S'aBat, and we are all brothers and sisters as in this tribe and as family. Like I said, the conversations, the questions today were very excellent. I want to thank everyone who was on the call. Again, tune in next Friday. And as we see now that this platform is now starting to grow, we see that now the Mudwawu or the disagreeables, the devils, they're trying to get in to stop it. But that's the thing about it. When you're teaching the truth, they're going to show up because they're doing their job, because we're doing our job. So again, I want to thank everyone for being on the call. Again, my good brother Amun, Nebu, man, Ashuk, man, much love. Muta Ashuk, man, I love you, brother, for coming on. Also, brother Amun, Rayay, he's been holding it down with the language on the YouTube side. Tawutak, Muta Ashuk, because you my good Zamali as well. And we will see you all and speak with you all again next Friday, 7 p.m., same time, same station. And you all have a peaceful and blessed shadow hour, and travel and be safe at all times.
And spread the word too.
Yes, spread the word. Wu-S'aBat is the word. All right, family. Y'all have a blessed one.
Wadu.
Wadu.